Um, okay, I'm going to tell her that, and
We're
I will. What's that?
No, I was just saying I just made us live. So whoever's here, there's my daughter. So whoever's joining us this morning, um, welcome. Hi, so we're just going to take another minute to fix a couple of technical glitches, and then we'll get started. And my daughter says hello. Okay, very quickly say hello, right? Okay. Hi.
Hi.
That's all. Okay, now we've got to get back to the meeting. I'll mute for a second. Hold on. All right. Can folks hear me? Ieshia, can you hear me? Ieshia, I see that you've joined, but can you hear me? I cannot hear you. You should be able to come on the video now.
Okay. Setting everything up. I'm
Awesome.
seeing text, but just getting in, so I had to get things set up.
Perfect. That's great. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Good morning. Good afternoon. And it looks like folks are starting to arrive. Welcome to Stay Well at Home. And I know that you're used to seeing Krista, our wonderful and fierce executive director, in this role, introducing this session. But today I'm just going to be quickly filling that role before I pass it on to Ieshia Scott. My name is Olivia Ford. I think a lot of y'all know me. One of my biggest hats is that I am the managing editor of the Well Project, and I just want to welcome everyone to this session. It's now our fifth session, I believe, in our wellness series, Stay Well at Home with the Well Project. I know that there are some folks who are joining us who have been on every time or most times, so welcome back to those who are joining us again, and to anyone who's new, glad you found us. These sessions take place every other Wednesday at noon Eastern time. That's 9 Pacific time. And I know there are folks from a range of time zones that join us as well. And it's, again, I know that for some people it's much later in the day or earlier. So thank you so much for making us a part of your day. This series was started soon after the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, when we all found that we were going to be at home a lot of the time, pretty much all of the time. And these times they've just become extraordinarily more challenging for so many reasons. And this was really, while extremely tough for all of us for different reasons, we already have this really strong kind of net of an online community with the Well Project, and we're in a really good position to connect folks around the globe, which has happened over and over again with these sessions. So yeah, again, folks know what to do. Everyone's saying hi in the chat. I see some familiar names, and it's just really wonderful to see everyone every week. I'm just I always get a little bit tickled. But yeah, we really wanted to bring folks together that could add, just have an opportunity to share their skills with our community, and just kind of bring a kind of positive focus and a focus on building our knowledge and our connection in these times. And it's really an opportunity not to ignore what's going on in the world, obviously, but to share some healthy time together, coping mechanisms, even a little bit of distraction. Though also, I think that, especially 2 weeks ago, we really have opportunities to have some, to hold each other through some challenging conversations. And because our things come up for us that we don't expect, sometimes we need a little extra support, emotionally and otherwise. Our amazing, phenomenal, many hat wearing Community Advisory Board and Women's Research Initiative member Gina Brown, and those are just two of her big hats. What's up, Miss Gina? Is here, and she's going to be wearing her social worker hat today. So to help out if anyone needs any additional support, then what is possible to provide sort of within the container of the session. She'll introduce herself. I'll pass it on to her before passing on to Ms. Ieshia Scott. But if you want to connect with her, you can send her a private message. You can send a note to the panelists with your contact email, and she can follow up with you. And just a note, speaking of the chat, is that since this is we're on a Zoom meeting, we're recording this for posterity so people can watch later. But so the meeting is being recorded, that means that the chat is also going to be saved. And the host will see, messages that are shared in the saved chat. So if you really want to have a private online discussion, definitely make sure to provide your email address. Though again, anything that's truly private in nature, if we got it sort of through the chat, that wouldn't be included in the materials that we share later. But just as something for you to know. But yeah, we are so excited to have Ieshia Scott here to talk to us about budget basics. We all make, spend, and save money, no matter what you want to call it. And budgeting can often feel like a task, especially during these times, during the COVID pandemic and so much more going on in the world. But it's a good moment to take time to prepare that budget that we can use now, and when we're able to kind of see people and get out in the world and have a little bit more of a normal life than we're having right now. So I'm really, really pleased to welcome past and current Community Advisory Board member Ieshia Scott, who's gonna, right after Ms. Gina introduces herself, Ieshia will introduce the activity she's gonna be taking us through. I believe folks may have gotten a link to that budget worksheet in advance, but if not, we can also, we can share that material through the chat, and it's gonna be shared on screen as well. So again, without further ado, I'll pass it over to Ms. Gina and then to Ieshia.
Hello, everybody. I hope y'all are enjoying y'all summer. I know it's hot. Most of us in the South probably, and I know it's hot here in New Orleans. But as Olivia said, I'm wearing my social work hat. If you need to talk to me, send me a message. I'll follow up with you. Ieshia, it's so good seeing you. And I can't wait to be taught how to save some money, budget my money, because I spend everything at Amazon. So, let's see you.
All right then, Ieshia, take it away and feel free to provide any other intro that you'd like. And I'm gonna go off video as well, but I'll still be here in case you need anything. And we'll periodically share questions for you from the chat, but so glad to have you here. Thank you so much. This is such an important skill.
Thank you guys for having me. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started, you guys. I know that budgeting may be a challenge for many of us, saving as well. Whether you work at Walmart or you work on Wall Street, many of us have a problem with saving our money because oftentimes we're spending our money just as quickly as we're receiving it. So debt is a very big thing in our society, while saving money remains a task that many of us are just trying to attain. So we all understand that saving money and getting ahead isn't easy, but it is possible. And that's why we're here today, just to kind of discuss budgeting, go over some terms that you may or may not understand. I do just want to pose a quick question. I have the chat up in front of me so I can see the responses. Who in here has done a budget before? You can just say me in the chat if you can. Great. So it looks like most of us have some experience at least with budget and budget terms and what those different things mean. So when we're talking about accumulating wealth, it literally means spending less than you make, right? And I know that's something that I attained I want to have. I want to accumulate some wealth. I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. Is that more of a, does that seem to be something that we all want here? So if you don't have a budget, it is very easy to spend more money than you make. When you get paid, you feel good, and what's the first thing you want to do? Some of us may say it's self-care. I know I do. But the first thing I do when I get some money, especially being that I know I have these bills and they're going to eat that up first, I always say, let me go get something. Let me do something for myself, whether it's a meal, whether it's going to the store, whether it's spending money on your children, whether it's buying yourself those new shoes you saw, whether it's buying out your cart on Amazon. So if you are in deep debt and financial crisis, you may need to make some significant spending adjustments, and that's where we start here with our budget. So before we get into how to make a budget, I know I sent a budget basic form, and that form is very basic. What you do is it teaches you to just identify your income, your expenses, and from there you can see what money you have left, your disposable income, and that's just your money after you subtract your bills. So if you guys want to go ahead and pull up the budget basic form, if you have the ability to do so, I might ask that you do that now. If I can have Olivia share the budget basic form for me, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. And if you guys need a moment to get your budget up and take a look at it if you haven't already, please go ahead and do so. So again, as you're scrolling through, you see that this is just a basic budget. It just shows your monthly. You're going to see your month, your year, and then you're going to see my income this month, my expenses. And as you see, she's just scrolling through, and it's just showing you your very basic budget form. Now, I did also have a budget form that we're going to go through a little bit later on. That is an Excel spreadsheet, and I can also send it out to you guys, or Olivia or one of the other individuals that are responsible for sending out things. I think it's Krista. Can possibly give that out to you guys following.
Oh, yes.
And that's an Excel spreadsheet, and from there you just plug in your numbers and it'll automatically calculate for you. I have my formula blocked in place, so therefore you are not able to make any changes. All you need to do is just put in your numbers, and every month you'll pretty much have your budget. It's a quarter budget sheet, so it goes about 3 months at a time, pretty much. So I'm thinking that we all should be able to see our budgets here. I don't see that anybody is asked to wait. So when we're looking at our income is always going to be our paycheck. This is your salary after tax. You don't want to, I know when we're sending out our information to these different programs and agencies, they are always asking about our growth, right? Unfortunately, we do not live off of our growth. We live off of our net income. So that is pretty much what you're going to be using. You're going to be using your actual income, the money that is coming into you. On my Excel spreadsheet, I actually have a separate section just like this income listed here, where you have your paycheck first, and then on that second line, there's other income. So if you're an individual that receives money from your partner, money from child support, any additional income that you may not get every month, but you know that you get money coming back, whether it's from school or whatever other income that you have, then you will be able to list that there as well. Now, when we get into our expenses, that is the thing that really trumps a lot of us, because we may have that money coming in, but we may not always have the money to cover those expenses going out. So I just want to kind of go over some terms. It's not listed in your basic budget form, but I want to talk about what are your fixed expenses. So these are your expenses that you really want to know. These are your items you must pay each month, and they are typically the same amount every month. So these are going to be your rent, your mortgage, for example, is also a fixed income. So your flexible expenses, those are your costs that change month to month, depending on your choices. So for example, your electric bill could cost more or less, depending on whether it is summer or winter. Your grocery bill might vary each month, depending on the amount of groceries you buy. And then you also have your annual expenses. And from these, I'm just giving terms. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the basic budget form. It's literally just me kind of going over your different expenses and why they matter. Because again, your fixed expenses, those are going to be your same expenses every month. They really don't, the amount of those really don't change. And then you have your flexible expenses. Those are going to change from month to month. Those costs may vary. So groceries, they may not be $100 every month. It could be $125, $400 if you're like me. And then we have annual expenses, and those are your expenses that you may not necessarily pay them. Well, you don't have to pay them if they're annual expense. You normally will pay them once a month, but it works great for your budget if you want to break them down. So my property owners, those of you who pay property taxes, you may benefit from actually separating those annual expenses into monthly expenses, okay? And then you have your one-time expenses, things that you're just going to do every now and then. And then you also have your discretionary expenses. So these are discretionary, just means they're a want, not necessarily a need. It's something that you want. You don't necessarily have to do it. Some people I know may actually say a portion of their discretionary expense is an amount over their need. So say for instance, if your rent is $1,000, but technically you could have had a place that cost $700, and that's more medium for you. So then that extra $300 you're paying a month, that could be your discretionary expense. So again, it's just a want when we're talking about discretionary expenses. And then you have your savings and retirement. And that is just the money, the things that you're saving for that you want in your future, whether it's short term, long term, like a house, or you're saving up for a big vacation, those things. So again, the basic budget form, it doesn't list those expenses in those separate ways. Not even my Excel spreadsheet do I list them in fixed, flexible. But you want to know those terms so that you kind of know what you're spending, why you're spending it, why it matters. Can you benefit from possibly not having that expense? And that's how you even learn how to save, how to budget, and how you get into that action of making better choices that are based on your income, based on what you have coming in. Are there any questions right now? I don't want to jump in without asking that. Thank you, guys. Okay. Okay, so one of the first things that we want to do anytime we're doing a budget, we want to identify our income. That's first. We want to know what we have coming in. So we can just go back to the top of the budget basic form. Thank you. So we want to identify what we have coming in. Was there anybody who got to identify their income and maybe have a separate piece of paper that you're writing this information down on? Is there anybody that wants to follow along, or would you like to just kind of have me talk?
Let's see.
Good to hear that.
Yeah,
see
Brenda.
that
Oh, you
first.
see the chat. Yeah, Brenda
Yeah.
says she likes the different itemizations. Bose says it's very interesting and self-explanatory notes, also easy to use and understand. CC's agreeing that it's helpful. So
Okay,
yeah,
great.
excellent. And also there's an ask if folks want to come on video, just holler in the chat, or if they'd like to come on audio, just say so in the chat and we can promote you and you can come on the video, just as a side note.
Yep. And even if you have a partner, talking to your partner about money and creating a budget, that's a great way to have a conversation with your partner about money, what you're spending, your future plans together. It's definitely important to have patience, especially if it's going to be your first time doing a budget with a partner. But definitely, if you're thinking about doing a budget and you're doing one now and you haven't actually sat down with your partner to actually talk budgeting and talk long plan and future plans, then this is something that you may want to do. It's probably a great talking point for the relationship. So let's go ahead and continue. So we have our income, and let's just say I'm using a separate piece of paper to keep up with everything, and I'm putting in my income. I'm putting in some other income there. Now, when we go down, and I'm pretty sure you guys have already seen your expenses, they are kind of broken up on this budget basic form. And you see how on this budget basic form, they're broken up into housing, food, transportation, health, family, and personal, and finance, and then you have your other categories. So pretty much from here, you get right into creating your budget. Once you have your income and you have your expenses, from there, if you're using a budget, a basic budget, this will pretty much be all you need. And from there, once you go down to the bottom, you see that you subtract your expenses from your income. Now, hopefully, at that point, you'll have some money left over. And now, you may be like many others who may not have any money left over. You may actually have a deficit. So the good thing is when you have these up in front of you and you at least have your expenses out and you're taking a look at your expenses, what do you spend your money on every month? What's costing you so much? That from there you can start to control your costs, especially on your large expenses. You can consider many adjustments, and some of them may not be easy adjustments. Some of them you may have to work on over time, like moving to a cheaper place, getting a roommate, trading in your car. I have a friend right now who has pretty much traded in her life for an RV, and that is a great thing to see because we're living in a different climate right now, and if you need to save money and you have the opportunity to live on the go, that's a really good way to live and save money on your expenses, especially some of us who have that housing expense. If you're paying your full housing every month, that's probably your largest expense. It's the one that you really can't get around. So you're probably paying a lot of money between your house and your car, especially if you have a car that you haven't paid for completely, right? Because you have your payment, your car payment. On top of that, you have your auto insurance payment, which is probably going to be a little bit more if you stay in the South, right? And then also, if you're under 25, even really under 30, so you're going to have all of those costs, and those things may not be very easy to change. You may not have the ability to give in your car and take public transportation, but you may have the ability to do things like buy off-brand groceries if you're buying groceries for yourself, right? Maybe change to a cheaper store if you're using, like, well, I know we're kind of all over, but I know here in Florida we have Publix. Publix is a high store, but you can go to Walmart and get things at a much cheaper price there, right? Some may consider increasing their income, instead of trying to change their expenses. I know that's me. I'll try to increase my income before I try to change my expenses because I'm very good with my expenses and my budget. So oftentimes, people may look into getting a part-time or short-time job, asking for a raise, looking for a higher paying job, working more hours, or selling some of their belongings, some things you're not using, maybe even hone in on one of your hobbies, something that you can make some money from, right? And I'm just going to take some time to, and yes, Alberto, I'm the same way. I'm the one who does it for my family. Yes, Krista, credit card debt is the worst. It is the worst. I found that doing the Snowball Method for me, and that's something we're not going to talk about here, but I know if you've ever heard about the Snowball Method, that's what helped me get out of credit card debt. And Brenda, I definitely understand, definitely have been there, and having those issues with trying to keep afloat or barely making it or having to take money from this week to that week. As far as tips for raises, now, I'm going to say this because I have changed how I am as an employee, and one of those things for me, I don't take additional tasks, okay? I will, however, what I mean by this is, say for instance, if I was a peer, and I'm just going to bring up an example at a previous agency, a peer at a previous agency, but now you need me to work as a case manager. I have learned that you do not work in additional capacities, especially if it's an additional role, not just one task, two tasks, but you're taking on an additional role to advocate for yourself in that moment, to ask for the money in that moment. Now, if you don't have that case and you've been in your organization for a moment, it is definitely hard and scary to go to your boss and advocate for yourself, especially if you feel like, if I say something, maybe I'm not going to have this job anymore. But what I would say is, I've learned, and I know that this may not be the case for everyone, but I've learned that with me, I just have to advocate for myself in the beginning. And if I didn't have that opportunity to do so, I just have to understand that I'm employable, that I do a good job, that I am valuable. So when I go in, I'm going in with that information. This is what I do. This is what I have done. And this is why I feel I deserve more money. That's not always easy for us. And reality of the situation is I have had opportunities and jobs that I have had to walk away from. I've had to walk away from, and that's not the easiest thing to do as a woman with children. If especially if you have children and you're maintaining the house, it's not an easy thing to do. But that's something that I know that I had to do. Just answering that question from Krista, as far as tips, I wish I had something a little bit better than that to offer. But I know that that's some of the things that I've had to, even if I don't understand the full value in myself, or even if I am scared a little bit at the time, I still know that this is something that I have to do, because either way, if I'm not here and I walk off, then I know that I'm going to look for something better. Or to be honest, I don't normally walk off. You know, I'm all for finding employment, gainful employment before leaving another. But yes. Yes, Brenda. Unfortunately, honestly, you know, if you don't advocate for yourself, you're going to be in those positions where you're not going to get much more. Even in organizations, the best of organizations, you know, even as a business, and with having to place myself in positions where I have to think from a business standpoint, not that I like it, but thinking from that business standpoint is, if I'm paying you this amount to do all of this and you're not asking for nothing additional, I'm not gonna offer it. And you would think that a good business would. However, unfortunately, this is just the reality that we're living in. So as we go back, I'm sorry, I don't want to get too far off. So as we get through, we definitely want to talk about setting realistic goals and sticking to them. Making a realistic budget is so important, and that's why I actually said to pull your information from your banking statement, your credit card statement. It's so important to have that realistic information so that you know how much you're really, really spending, so that you can go ahead and make those changes. Because honestly, even when I help my friends and different people, when we're going over budgets, the most that people spend money on is food. Is food. People will buy groceries and still buy McDonald's for lunch. So oftentimes, sometimes our budget can be helped by having a lifestyle change, and sometimes that includes getting in the kitchen, cooking, planning out our meals. But when I go back and talking more about setting your realistic budget, now the first time you create a budget, some of it will be guesswork, but if you've already created one, then you should pretty much know your income, you pretty much know your expenses, you pretty much probably know how much you're spending miscellaneously. But if this is going to be your first time, then it's not realistic to set a budget to say that you're going to live off of $200. Your budget should be a living, breathing document that you can adjust and tweak constantly. And that's why I have my Excel spreadsheet, because when I go over my budget, I can go back and I have a section that says additional, and I can go back and then say, oops, well, because especially during this Blackout Tuesday, when I saw different businesses were participating, I was donating money to these organizations, trying to do my part. And I had to actually go back and do my budget and say, well, I need to add this amount because this is the amount that I donated. And that's why it's so important when you have your budget, especially if you have the ability to do it in Excel or to do it in pencil on a paper where you can continue, come in, add things, change things. That's going to be great, because your budget is going to change. And unfortunately, that's realistic. I probably have had maybe once or twice that my budget has not really changed. And when I say change, that means me going in and having to add or subtract something that I've spent. So when you actually follow your budget closely or end the month with a surplus, that in itself is great, right? You probably feel good and you probably want to go spend something. I know I do. And that's a part of something that I'm always constantly working on and telling myself, you know, just because you have a little bit, if I don't go over my budget, I'm quick to say, oh, I can spend this on this. So that's what I mean, even when I'm talking about in the beginning, saying that even though you have a budget, it's not going to be easy, because just because you have one doesn't mean you're going to be able to keep your money how you want to and not spend what you don't want to. You're always going to give yourself an excuse to treat yourself, trust me. So when you're doing a budget, you definitely want to make sure that you're reviewing and you're revising. As your life changes, you may need to dramatically rework your budget. And that's the reality of it. You may have life events that happen. I know I've had it. Loss of income, new job. You may actually receive some money. You may have an inheritance or a retirement coming up. You may get married and have additional expenses because you're married. You may have less experience because you're married. You may have major health problems. Yes, Chris, a kid, a new kid, a new pet. I mean, if you get a new pet, you need that food for the pet. You may have one-time expense of shelter, but your fixed expense is probably going to be that dog food or cat food or whatever pet it is. New home or living situation or a new vehicle. You may need a new car. So when you're doing a budget, you just want to stay organized. You want to keep your budget records organized and stored in a safe place. Create folders or files if you need to for each month. I know I do. It's best to have everything kind of separated if you can. You want to make sure that you're saving your important documents, saving past electric bills, phone bills, receipts. For 1 year is a good idea in case you need to reference or dispute them. You definitely want to save your tax records for at least 3 years. This might be necessary if you get audited. And then you want to make sure your accounts are secure. Make sure your passwords to any online bank accounts, credit cards, or other financial accounts are secure. Don't use the same passwords for every account. And yes, it will definitely help you, keep you on track on how you utilize your income. Now, sticking to your budget isn't always easy, but remember, you're not alone. Consider creating some savings if you can. I know I was going to talk about some different saving methods, and I see I do have some time to do so before we get into kind of going through the Excel spreadsheet. But if you, I'm sorry about this. So I do have a little time. So some of the savings methods that I have are really easy. And these are going to be for individuals who have not much income and you're still looking for a way to save. So some of the methods that you can have to save, you can do $1 a week. You can do, I'm sorry, I did not say that right. You can do $1 for that week's number. So say for instance, if there's 4 weeks in a month, you're gonna do $1 that week 1, $2 week 2, $3 week 3, $4 week 4, pretty much. If there's 5 weeks in that month, you're just going to add that 5th week, $5. In the month that there's 5 weeks, in the month that there is, yeah, those dollars do add up. So that's the way to save a good about $10 to $15 per month. And it's just a start. It's just a start. It's not something that, you know, you have to do forever, because you want to be able to gradually save more, right? So even if you're saying, I'm not getting rid of any of my expenses, you know, I need to eat out. When I eat out, I'm at work, I need this much, or, you know, this makes me happy buying this dinner. If I don't get this, you know, I'm not going to be able to do that. But you at least have that. You have options of saving $5 a week if you can do a little bit more. That's $25 potentially a month if you have 5 weeks within that month. You can also do it bi-weekly based on your paycheck. If you want to save $10 a month, if you think you can save $20 a month. No, well, the Snowball Method is not necessarily a savings method, Brenda. It's really a way of, it's just really a way of getting out of your debt. So say, for instance, what you would do is, like for me, I will pull up my credit profile, right? I actually had to redo my own credit. I had to learn a lot of these things. And the first thing you do is you pull up your credit. If you're not disputing things and you're saying, okay, this is accurate, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this so that I can be done with it. Basically, you just take one account. Maybe if you got your lowest account, like me, I had my credit card was like, my lowest limit credit card was like $300 anyway. It wasn't a very high limit. But from there, all you do is you focus on that account first. And it's basically a way of just saying you're basically putting all of your money into one account at a time. You're not focusing on various debts at a time. You're focusing more on getting out of one debt at a time again. So if you choose that credit card, if you have, say for instance, an additional $100 a month, when you're done and you can see the amount that you have left over, right? Say if you have $100 a month and you say, okay, I've already, because that basic budget actually has like your food and things already itemized, right? So pretty much kind of have your expenses. So whatever you kind of have left, you may not have any additional things that you might spend. So that money is really disposable. It's money that you have sitting there. You're going to carry that money over to the next month. So in that case, you may say, okay, I have $100. I'm going to dedicate $50 to this account. If you have a $300 account, once you do $50 here when I get paid, another $50 there the next time I get paid, and technically in 3 months you've had paid off that debt, right? And that's pretty much just how a snowball method works. Is you concentrating on one debt at a time, getting yourself out of one debt at a time, and from there, it actually works much better credit-wise, because your points actually jump up more from actually paying your debt in full, you know, instead of kind of paying it here and there, and it's updating every couple of months to the credit bureau that you paid $10 or $20. So it actually works out a little bit better that way. So if Olivia, if you can, no worries, Brenda, if you can you go ahead and bring up the Excel spreadsheet so that I can walk through how we would use that Excel spreadsheet? And if we have somebody that wants to kind of share numbers or something, say me. If not, I'll go ahead and we'll put in some make-believe stuff.
We are just about to share.
Thanks, Brenda. Okay, no worries.
We're just switching out the, Jenna's gonna share her screen. She's just switching out the budget for the spreadsheet so people can see that. It'll just be a few seconds probably.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I actually have it up on my screen. Can you guys not see it yet?
No,
Okay,
not
then
yet.
I'm going to stop sharing and then I'll start again.
Okay.
Perfect. That should do it.
Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for doing that.
Great. So we said Brenda said she's willing to go through it, and if she's still, we can go ahead and get her on. Or
Oh, sure. Brenda, let's see. I'm promoting you to a panelist now, so if you want to come on, you should be able to.
thank you. And as you guys can see right here, you're looking at my budget. This is a budget I created for myself. I like to see my total balance. Some of the stuff I added just so you guys can see what it means, like total balance is their income plus your previous balance. But other than that, this is pretty much what I use. As you guys can see under expenses, I even go as far as to put the date that my expenses are due. That way, when I'm actually putting them on my calendar each month, they're kind of, my thing is pretty much the same every month anyways. I really don't have any changes because pretty much those bills don't change. So what you're looking at, again, is what I use, and I guess we're trying to see if we have somebody coming on, right?
Yep, Brenda.
Hello,
Are you
Brenda?
able to speak? Yeah. Brenda, you're on. You should be on the audio. And if you want to start your video, you can too, if you like. Can you hear us? I see your little window popped up. We should be able to hear Brenda. And also, if anyone else at this point wants to holler that, oh, her computer doesn't have a mic. Aw, that's a drag. So we won't be able to. So it doesn't have a video.
Okay.
Doesn't have a webcam either.
Okay. Well, no worries. We can go ahead and just put some information in, and that way you guys can see how the Excel spreadsheets work. Hopefully you guys like it, you find it useful if you plan to use it. So who's controlling the Excel and can enter data for me? Is it Olivia or Jenna?
That's Jenna. She's got the Excel.
Okay, great.
Then are you able to make changes on it? Oh, I see the little cursor going.
Sorry, I just needed to, just unmuting myself. Yes, I think I can make changes. Yep.
Okay, great. So when you click in the beginning, you guys, the beginning, that will be the amount you currently have in your bank. So if you want to use this Excel spreadsheet, that's what you're going to have at beginning, because it's going to set everything that you need going forward. Everything's going to calculate. So let's just say we have $800 beginning. Now you guys see that? Now as soon as you put that in, everything kind of auto-populates for you. Now I'm saying I have $800, and technically we're still in the week of the 12th, okay? So that's why I have the 12th listed there for June. My weeks change every Friday. So that's why the dates look like that, because I technically get paid on Friday. So that's why I have those dates adjusted like that. But you don't necessarily even need the dates. It's just how I kind of keep track on what date, what I should have, what I should be spending. I like to see all of that. So I'm going to say all I have right now is $800 because I don't get paid until next week. So we're going to go down and identify. So I see that I have an electric due on the 13th. So that's pretty much going to go right there, right? My electric bill. And I'm going to say my electric bill is $89. I wish it was. All right. So then when we scroll down, you're going to see all these other things, business expenses, additional expense, and those are things that you can change. They're not locked in the Excel spreadsheet. Those are things you can actually change. So I'm going to say every week I get groceries, so I spend about $125. So I'm going to put $125 in the grocery spot, right? And then if you have any other like miscellaneous, anything else, gas, will also go in that gas, groceries, and supplies. But you can break that stuff up if you want to. So we're going to say that's pretty much it. So from there, you see my total expenses is $214. And if you add that up, you'll see that it's correct. And then it shows me my total income minus my total expenses, right? So it says I have about $586 left. So now when we go over to the next week, and I normally have all of this filled out, like I said, for the whole quarter because of the simple fact I know what I'm getting paid. I pretty much know what's to come. So I just like to have it already there. So let's just say I get paid $1,000. And let's just say my spouse gives me money towards the bills and other things. So let's just say I get $750 from there. And remember, any additional income that you have is going to go in those income portions there. And there's only 3 slots, but you can definitely add. And now this is where it gets good because it takes my previous balance, right, that I had left over from the bottom below. So from that week below, I had $500 and something left, right? So it automatically carries that over. So I can see everything that I'll have plus the income I'm having in. But what I had to do also so that I can see my income for the week as well, I have total week income. So I see my income that I earned just for this week, and then I can see my total income plus my previous balance. And that will create my total balance. And that's what I should have in my bank before I start making those payments for that week, okay? So once we go into week 19, we have a Verizon that I'm saying is due on the 18th. And we'll say that's $250, right? And then once you go down, we'll probably put $150 for gas and groceries. And then you'll see my total expenses right there. And then your total expenses, once you minus that from your total balance, then you'll have that amount right there. And you'll be able to work it out every week. You could just throw your bills in there. If you have your income the same, like me, you get paid every 2 weeks. It's very easy just to go through and put those dates at the top, put how much income you're going to have that week, and then list out your expenses, and everything will be down below. And from there, if you do everything correctly, you should be able, if the budget ends in August, you should know how much you're going to have in your account in August. And then if you see right there, it says additional, add it after budget to update. That's if I've already put in things and my budget's already in place, but that week I spent an additional $500. then I would have to put that there. And let's say I spent an additional $2,000. And that way you guys can see, it'll show you a deficit. And see, basically saying, I'm going to have less than $64. So that's a good thing too. I know well in advance if I'm going to have a deficit based on this Excel spreadsheet. I know, you know, if I need some additional money down the line. So I'm thinking I get a time check. Did anybody have any questions? I know I said a lot. I hope I didn't confuse anybody.
No, this was fantastic. If folks want to holler in the chat to come on video for the last couple of minutes, video and or audio, please do so we can kind of, you know, you can ask your questions on with your actual face, or, you know, you can still ask them in the chat if you like, but it's nice to kind of come on in the last couple of minutes as we wrap up, and then Ieshia can answer some questions if anyone has any. But yeah, it was super comprehensive, Ieshia, and this spreadsheet is fantastic. It's
Great,
funny how.
Thank you. And yes, Krista, yes. I am, yes, send it to whoever needs it. I definitely want my girls to be empowered because once this world opens back up, I know I'm ready to go on a retreat or a conference, and I want to make sure you guys are ready to do the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone's saying thank you.
You're welcome.
Yay. Well, there you are. Next time, so we stop sharing the spreadsheet, but yeah, folks can have access to it later.
So that's pretty much it. If I don't have any questions, I definitely want to thank you guys for paying attention to me.
Yeah, I think people were really galvanized. Yeah, folks, feel free to share your next steps in the chat too if you're going to go and start doing your budget. Or yeah, I know that people were definitely feeling this one. Money is so hard. It's a tool, but people have really. The relationship with money is a lifelong practice. So it's really great to have a chance to come together and have this conversation and get some tools and know that we're not alone. Everybody needs support and tools to optimize those checks, optimize that income. So
definitely.
Thanks for guiding us through it.
And if anybody, yes, everybody, I definitely want to make sure everybody has Excel. And if anybody has any questions, even as it relates to credit, credit letters, disputes, those are things that I actually have letters for, things for, and will be more than happy to share with you. I share this stuff with my friends. It's so important that, especially as women, we have buying power, even if you don't have money. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, I may not always have money, but at least I have credit.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, Chris is talking about a session on advocating for ourselves and resume building and building our voices around these pieces.
Honestly, you got to be willing to. Sometimes, even if you're not really going to walk away, if the job even thinks you're a good employee and you're coming to them and there's a chance that you may walk away, half the time they will do what you want to do. But you got to make sure that you're just as valuable as what you're requesting.
Yes, exactly. And knowing that value too. We just wanted to come on video been hiding back there behind a little avatar, but and we get a special cameo from Krista.
I know. Hi.
Off the grid, Krista.
Off the grid.
Wait,
yeah.
I can't see you.
You can't see us?
Oh gosh.
Now I can see.
I'm swatting the flies away. I got a little opportunity to get out of Brooklyn for a bit, so it's very exciting to be in some nature, except for the flies swarming my head. But thank you. And if anyone else want to pop on to say hi at the end or say goodbye, you're welcome to come on. But I just really wanted to thank you, and thank you, Olivia, for managing in my. I remotely, the connection here is definitely not that great, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be good, but I had a meeting yesterday and it kept going out, so I'm glad I was not hosting. But I'm really glad to be here.
Big shoes to fill on the host tip. But yeah, this was a great one. Yeah, folks are saying bye in the chat. Thank you. I learned a lot. Yeah, thank y'all so much for being here. And I believe once we close out, folks will be rerouted to a brief survey, if you wouldn't mind taking that, so that we can have some so that we can have our data on these sessions and the impact and folks' experience. Oh, it sounds like folks had bad connections and weren't able to go. Oh, they're supposed to popped on briefly. Just saw your avatar. Thank you so much for asking that, Mel. I'll quickly review our next sessions. So 2 weeks from now is July 1st, and we're going to have skincare routine with Miss Dees. That's Portia Dees, another community advisory board member. And so she's going to take us through her fabulous skin regimen. And then on the 15th, we're going to have strong arms, strong minds, strong bodies, strong minds with Susan Mull. That was supposed to take place 2 weeks ago. We postponed it and ended up having, it was just the times, if folks remember, just a couple weeks ago, I can't believe it was such a short time, were just really intense with the violence and everything going on. We ended up postponing Susan's session, which is going to be amazing for to have more of a group conversation for those of you who weren't able to join us. But 2 weeks from now is going to be Portia D's skincare. 4 weeks from now is going to be Susan Mull arms, and her arms are like amazing. So it's going to be she's going to take us all down that journey. But thank you so much, Mel, for asking that. So yeah, every 2 weeks on Wednesday, we stay well at home together. And let's see, anything.
And we are confirming, I think we're confirming the sessions following that. I don't know if we've got the schedule all worked out, but we will be announcing that soon.
Yeah, we're gonna keep on doing them.
And Mel's gonna be doing one.
Oh, awesome. Oh, that's great.
So exciting.
Great. Oh, yay. Sweet. So yes, stay tuned for more of the schedule as we solidify those dates. But yeah, thank you all for saying goodbye. I will, since we're about 3 minutes after the hour, it's always good to spend a little extra time sharing a little love. Aisha, Scott, you are a gift. Thank you so much for bringing this so important skill so comprehensively to our community. I think that I know that I got a lot out of it. I know that a lot of people were saying the same. Have a great day. Take good care of yourselves. Take good care of each other. Just be well. Stay well.
Yes, and give all those kids. Aisha's got, I don't know if you've seen her daughters, but
we heard
they're
that.
the most beautiful little girls. So yes.
Are they in the back? And
I'm always like kind of.
They're ready to come out now. They're like, wait a minute. That's the sign.
Oh, right. They're like, you said.
Yeah. Well, tell them if they want to say hi.
I'm trapped in the room. They're opening the door like.
Oh, if they want, can they come on and say hi, and say bye? Or is that okay? Is that okay with mom? Is that allowed, or you want to just hold the boundary?
Well, I don't know that they're dressed to come on.
Okay. I hear that. Stay comfy at home.
Yeah.
Yes, they are comfy.
Nice.
Oh. Okay. Well, thank you again, and look forward to seeing you and talking soon.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Everyone. Bye. Thanks so much for
All right. Bye, y'all.
Miss Gina. Bye. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So good to hear your voice. Jenna, thank you so much for being the mistress, sharer of all documents and making
My pleasure.
all had our visual aids on. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
Great to see
you,
you,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank
Oh,
you,
bye.
Lisha. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Krista.
Say.
Thanks.
Bye, Jose. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Yeah, have a wonderful one. All right,
Simba says
All
bye
right.
too.
Chuck.
Simba, I heard his little vacation bark. He sounds
Yeah.
like
Barking
Aw.
at everyone walking by. Okay. All right. Bye. I'm gonna hang up.
Bye.
I'm gonna end the meeting now. I don't want to kind of
Okay.
bye everyone. So good to see
Bye.
you. Take care.